This video is meant to explore the variety of English used in the Francophone world, specifically to decide whether British English or American English predominates. I've tried to find objective evidence in English language web pages in the countries I've chosen, that is to say France, Canada and Belgium, and applied data mining to derive empirical evidence to support the analysis. The aim is to have an objective point of view of the results for language researchers to see that corpus-based methods are better than analysis based most of the time on stereotypes. The countries under study are not all in the same geographical region, then some differences may easily occur. Basic facts about those three countries are the following. French students since primary school are taught the British English, same for Belgian students. And though the part of Canada we want to study is the Francophone one, it's easy to make assumptions about its geographical situation, which makes it more influenced by American English. At least we think so. Moreover, the history between France and the United Kingdom could lead to a specific analysis as regards to the Norman invasions, for example. This should be of particular interest to linguistic researchers looking into English use in these countries, such as Le Journal du Net, in its article entitled Le gouvernement lance un site pour lutter contre les anglicismes. Indeed, anglicisms are a big issue in Canada and France in particular. The language academy of both countries are trying to put some borders to the use of English in their spoken language. So it sounds logical that the reader of this journal and that the governments themselves should be interested in this analysis, since the aim is to emphasize, to determine the influence of English, either British or American, on the web pages of these Francophone countries. This video will demonstrate how empirical corpus-based methods can provide evidence to answer a linguistic question about the type of English in France and two other Francophone countries, Belgium and Canada. To conclude this introduction, here is a quotation from Oscar Wilde. We have really everything in common with America nowadays, except, of course, language. To investigate the English used in the Francophone world, I've used the World Web English corpus of the University of Leeds. The World Web English corpus is divided into national domains, which makes it possible to collect a corpus of English language web pages from a specific country. First, I wanted to prove the presence of English in the Francophone world in order to insist on the fact that, English being part of the language nowadays, it makes it more difficult to determine the type of English preferred, since the words in use are not typically British neither American. I've just decided to use the Microsoft Office dictionaries online. Then, to prove that this relation is not a one-way relation, some examples of English words of French origins. And the easiest way to see which type of English was more used was to rely on different UK or US spellings or words with high frequency in one or other of UK and US samples. Color and center seem to be obvious differences enabling to highlight the analysis. The decision procedure is the following. Between the two words analyzed, the difference of occurrences have to be at least of 10 to determine which is the most used. For example, if a British word occurs 10 times, whereas the American word occurs 25 times, the country will be considered as preferring American English. But if the difference is inferior to 10, then we can't assert anything. Moreover, this relation has to be seen in both words under analysis. I think that the screenshots I've made are relevant enough, so I don't need to say anything special about it. So here are the results for France. Canada. And finally, Belgium. So, why are these tests so important? Because our assumptions of the results wouldn't have been what we found through the World Wide English corpus. As regards to Canada, it would have been easy, even for linguistic researchers, to consider the geographical situation of this country, so close to the United States, and assert that the English we would find more in the Canadian web pages was the American English. And indeed, when we look carefully at the test through the World Web English corpus, I think we can easily assert that the English in use is British, because the differences of occurrences between color written with an O and color written with OU and center are significant. Nearly 10 times more occurrences of center written in the British way than center written in the American way. As regards to France, I'm French, and I was sure that the English we would find in the web pages was the British one, because it's the one we learn at school, and because of the relationship between the United Kingdom and France through centuries, Norman invasions, etc. And indeed, both are kind of equal. Unexpectedly, the American one is even slightly more present. Finally, concerning Belgium, this country is not really well known all over the world, so the assumption may have been difficult without corpus-based methods, even if the easiest assumption could have been to say that, as it's really close to France, the results should have been quite the same. The corpus-based method I've used highlight a really different outcome. The numbers are really weird, since the discrepancies between the results are huge, but on both languages. I mean, color is more used with the American spelling, whereas center is more used with the British spelling. To conclude, basically, corpus-based methods are definitely more reliable than a kind of anthropological study of the countries.